welcome to She the People. We are here again with the Women's Writers Fest. This is our second edition for the year 2021, and it's been an amazing journey. The lockdown has enabled us to get voices from all over the world and explore more subjects. And have very intriguing conversations. Continuing that tradition, we are here for our next panel, which is titled Writing the Modern Woman. And we have with us three amazing people. First up, we have Kanchana Banerjee, who is coming out with her new book, her third book, Eye on You. She has already written Nobody's Child, A Forgotten Affair, and this latest book is going to be a self-published book. So more on that, we're going to catch up on that with her. Kanchana is determined to cycle 100 kilometers in a day to mark her 50th birthday this September. This is something very interesting, and I had to mention it to our viewers. Kanchana was previously a full-time author, and the other two people we have on the panel, we have Sudha Nair, who published with Penguin and Westland, and also self-published on Amazon KDP. She won the KDP Pen to Publish Award in 2017 with her debut novel, The Wedding Tamasha. Since then, she's written 11 best-selling books. Welcome, Sudha. We also have with us Tanushree Podder. Born in Delhi, New Delhi, Tanushree worked in a corporate sector for 8 long years before she quit the rat race to write. I think that's like an amazing decision. I think it's a very tough decision to take. A well-known travel writer and novelist, she's passionate about traveling and writing. Climate change and environment are of her special interest to her. Tanushree's latest book is called The Girls in Green. She has written a number of books with military as a theme, which is something we are going to talk about. And this latest one has like a woman character at the center who's a woman in a uniform. So lots of interesting things that I would like to discuss apart from your protagonists, how you write and your decisions, how you made your career switches and the decision to self-publish. I think all these are important facets of being a woman writer today. And so I'll welcome all three of you to She the People once again and start my conversation with Sudha. Sudha, my first question to you is: a woman author's protagonist is 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 more the story of a everyday woman, which makes it more relatable to the reader, rather than a man's story where he's on a journey to achieve probably make a big leap in the career. It is the everyday stories which appeal to women and women readers more. Do you agree?
They are 100% relatable in the sense they talk about the trials and tribulations and the insecurities of the modern woman and what she faces in society, in life, and her career choices and marriage choices and all of that, and grappling with the expectations of society. And of course, there's this universal theme of finding happiness and choosing one's own path in life. So although it may not seem like a big journey like a man would probably take, a modern woman is also looking to find her place in life and in this world that we have around us. So yes, definitely relatable, identifiable, and the contemporary woman of today.
So the contemporary woman of today, Tanushree, to you, I would ask, when you write about the modern Indian woman, no more do we need to stick to the archetypical, the conform to the archetype of being a woman or what she's expected to do.
I don't think there are any such expectations from a modern woman of the cities. In the rural areas, it is yet another story because they still have those kind of views against which the women are struggling to find a voice. But as far as my characters are concerned, most of them are very feminist kind of free women with independent thinking and entity of their own. So I really don't think they have faced so many conflicts. Having said that, the Girls in Green does have a character from Haryana who actually is battling against the archetypal, woman's image. And she rebels against her father and joins the army without his knowledge. And because he's already got her engaged to someone and she doesn't want to get married, and she's a footballer and she has that entire reflexes are toned and tuned to be independent. So I don't think any of the characters that I have written fit into the archetypal mold.
Right.
Deepshika,
So
Deepshika, if I may make like, can I make a comment adding to what Tanushree just said?
sure.
So, Tanushree, I completely agree with you that, in the rural parts of our country, the archetypal image of a woman is, is very typical and very conservative, and not so much in the urban setting. But however, in the urban setting, I have often felt and I have noticed, and this is what I've tried to talk about in my book, Eye on You, that a modern educated woman who is very fit and toned, or wears very sexual or very sensuous clothes, is often labeled, and slut shamed. And uh, and this happens just as badly in the urban settings as it would happen probably in a rural setting. So I don't think the urban women are so free and so forgiven from the archetypal images that exist in the minds of society and men and others, and sometimes even women. Women kind
Right.
of look at other women who kind of are bold in their dressing style, who are not uncomfortable wearing very sexual dresses or very sensual and sexy attire, short dresses. They're often looked at and ridiculed and kind of made eyes by, even by other women. So I just wanted to make that point.
So it's coming to you with that with a question. That you highlight that they get tied with certain kind of dresses, etc. Uh, so. Uh, so how important is it in your writing that you have the female gaze? Like, what is it that the female gaze as an author you think tries to break?
So, like, before I answer your question, I want to say that I'm not a social commentator. I'm not a social activist. I write books for entertainment, and but I'm also very very much aware of what is happening around me, in the society around me, in the country, and in the world around me. And as a writer, and I'm sure Sudha, Tanushree, and everyone else, would agree that as a writer, even if you are not setting out to write to make a social commentary through your stories, your characters and the plot can never be far away from what you experience or what you kind of read and learn about and hear about. So in like with I want to make this point specifically with regards to Eye on You. So Eye on You is about this young woman. Her name is Myra, and she's an independent single woman working, and she's in a very good position, and she's fun, and she's quite wild, and she's carefree, and she's very sexy. She is very bold and sexy. And she has a party at her home, and the next day morning she wakes up and she finds out that she was drugged and raped at a party in her own house. So if you're not safe in your own house, and she had called all friends, so who did this to her? So and as a woman writer, I think I can never be far away from the female gaze. Obviously, I will be looking at characters, looking at situations, and looking at other characters from the female point of view. But also as a woman, as a woman author, I don't want to kind of leave aside the male point of view, because my books are not just for women and by women and of women. There are other characters. So I try to balance it out. But I think as a woman author, of course, my female gaze would be stronger than the other. So yeah, of course. But then I naturally tend towards
Yeah,
talking
I'll.
about a woman's
Yeah, so I
experience.
want
Yeah.
I want to know more about Myra in my next question, and
Okay.
I'll first go to Sudha. I'm
Hmm.
sorry I did not mention your latest book when I was introducing you. It's called Strictly at Work, and
Yes.
this is a common question I have for all three of you. I want you to talk a little bit about your latest work and talk. Since all of you have published more than one book, my question is actually, women who are making their own rules are selling well, and I'm talking in terms of your protagonist. So with reference to your protagonist, would you like to talk a little bit about it?
Um, my protagonist in Strictly at Work is somebody who is from a middle class family, and she has her family has certain expectations from her. She's someone who's passionate about what she does for a career, and she would like to, of course, find a partner that she wants to marry. But instead, the family circumstances are such that they find a family friend for her to get married to. But it's not only about marriage. The book is a romance set in a co-working space, and that being a trend today, a new office space like a co-working space where you meet people from different offices, from different work cultures and everything. And it is also about friendships and all of that. So definitely, I think that whether it is a best-selling kind of book or not, a woman who definitely knows her place and knows what she wants to do with her life is definitely something that other women, other people can look up to and definitely gain some inspiration from. So I think that is what the theme of my books is to give hope is the underlying theme, and also themes of finding your own self-worth, confidence in yourself, believing yourself, and all of those things.
Tanushri, would you like to go next?
Okay. Uh, my book Girls in Green has four female characters. Now, these women are all very young. They come from different parts of the country. One is from the Northeast, which is a place where I feel that they have not been represented enough in literature. And one is from Haryana, like I mentioned earlier. One is from the south, and one is from Maharashtra, and they all come from different backgrounds. So while some are liberal, the others aren't. And my protagonists have one thing in common, that they are, determined to do well in the profession that they have chosen, and that means that they have to do well in the training. Now, the thing is that when they start getting trained, they realize what they have got into. Perhaps they didn't have that kind of image of the training, or an idea that it would be so rigorous. But my book is also about camaraderie and the supporting group that they form, which helps them. They confide in each other, they buck each other up when one is down, and they actually share all the tears and the joys, and that keeps making them go around. So it's a book about, having dreams, living up to them, no matter what the conditions, what the oppositions, or whatever the obstacles. It's also about, the competition. There is a sense of competition, but it is never very negative. It's always a very positive, in a very positive stance. So it's a lot to do, and it's all written in great humor. So there it is not very, the serious kind. It's a very humorous book. And through that, I have tried to bring out the story of their tears and their sweat and the blood they shed, and the kind of, determination that takes them through till the last post.
Kanchana, I'll come to you about Myra and how you were talking about that. She's somebody who gets abused, sexually abused, inside her own home, and let's talk a little bit more about it.
So Myra, the story of Myra is, kind of has come out of. I'm quite active on Instagram, and I follow, number of accounts, and I look at, these young women constantly, and many of them I don't know. I mean, in fact, I've kind of to do a little bit of more research about the younger generation and how they are on social media. They post almost by the minute in their houses, in kind of various attires, sometimes very little attire on them. And I just wonder that, about the kind of digital footprints that they are, leaving around for people. And there are so many, and the comments that I read on their posts, some of them are really nasty, they're being trolled. So, like, Myra is very much a woman of today. She's highly educated, she's independent, she works at a very senior position in a company, she's doing very well. She leads her life by her own rules, like, most women, most young educated urban women in our country. And she kind of has this traumatic experience. And juxtaposed against her is this woman, police inspector called Deepti Beniwal, who is part of the Haryana police force, and she has been made the station head officer of an all women's police station in Gurgaon. And she is also facing some nasty comments by her male colleagues, saying that tumko to matlab inspector bana diya, leader bana diya of this all women's police station, because in any other police station you won't be effective. The men will not take orders from you. So these two women from two different strata of life, who don't really like each other, because Deepti, comes from a lower strata in society, and she does not like Myra in her rich attire and the beamer that she drives, and expensive perfumes and very sexy dress and stuff like that. So she comes from a typical cop mentality where she hates Myra, and Myra looks down upon her that, my God, this classless woman, she's so fat and she's ugly and she doesn't take care of herself and she's so crass and stuff. But at the base of it, both of these women have something in common. They both are being minimized by society. Deepti is facing, struggle in her family with her, against her mother-in-law, against her husband and her colleagues, who are, looking at her with suspicion, and her looking at her with ridicule. And on the other hand, Myra, who is so successful, she's also being talked about that, oh, she had this coming. Did you see the kind of dress that she used to wear and roam around? Of course, she would get raped. So, these kind of things are happening. So, somewhere these two women, they connect, and they solve the case that, who is the person who did this to her. And of course, and a very integral part of the story is the digital and the advanced technology that we have allowed entry into our homes. We have app controlled CCTV, we have smart doors, like main doors which can be opened by an app and stuff like that. And like, practically our entire life is on the mobile, and if the mobile gets hacked, then you're screwed, you're pretty much ruined. So that's what the story is all about, and how these two women finally find out who is the person behind this. And there and the story ends with a startling twist, which I can guarantee you won't see coming. So that's
Yeah,
what I
so
knows about.
we look forward to read that book. And I mean, I would like to talk a little more about the broader themes that you guys have been using, you've been putting showcasing in your works. So first across to Tanushree, who is writing Girls in Green is your fourth book on the same on the subject of military, right? And so my question is, I mean, rather, I want to know more about your research, because I think women in military is still something, they're still trying to, like, get a place, a permanent position, etc. So tell us a little bit about your research, your inspiration. How did you go about doing this book?
Deepshika, I have lived almost half my life, or more than half my life, uh, surrounded by people from the armed forces. And I have lived in the campuses. I've watched how the people react to each other, what goes on, and I have seen everything at a very close quarters. So, though I have written 15 books, and this is just the fourth of the military novels, I feel I'm very comfortable doing something which talks about the ethos and the life in the army. But then again, a book that is set in a training establishment requires a very intensive research. And since I am just an army wife, I have not trained in any of the training institutes. It's been a big challenge for me to write, whether it was Boots Bells or On the Double or this one, or even the third book, which was No Margin for Error, which was actually it had the background of the Mumbai attacks. But having said that, I once I decided to do a book, I generally go around, I find out more about the situations and the people involved. And so I made two visits to Chennai to be at the OTA where the book is set. I met whole lot of cadets, instructors, went through their campus, saw how they lived. I attended a few, sessions about. Really talked to a lot of people, and I even had meals in their canteen, which plays a very important role in my book. So all these things are, something you cannot do over say telephone call or whatever. You have to personally go and visit that place, and that is what I do. And also having people around me who have trained in these institutes has really helped me a lot. But even then, a military book is a big challenge to write, I must admit that.
Uh, Sudha, you have in your recent book, Strictly at Work, there's a place where you touched upon homosexuality. So my question is, it is a very sensitive subject. So how do you go about writing? How do you decide how much to deep dive into? Uh, what is your writing process for such things when you're deciding to write about? Of course, because you're writing at the end of the day, it's a romantic novel. So that's where I'm coming from as a question.
Right. So this is basically primarily a romantic novel with undercurrents of these stigmas and other reservations that we have in society and in our world, um, especially Indian society, where we, consider homosexuality as a closed topic. We don't want to discuss it out in the open. But the way I come to these topics is by presenting uh, different points of view, whether it is the society's, the family's point of view, the near and dear ones, and the individual's own point of view. And my job as a writer becomes to show the reader different aspects of thinking within the society, how different people think and how they rationalize things, what they don't want to talk about, what is taboo, and trying to normalize and open up these conversations so that we don't consider it to be something that should be pushed under the carpet or turned a blind eye to, that kind of thing. So definitely these are sensitive topics, and we do have a very judgmental society when it comes to these topics. And I think by bringing awareness to these subjects, uh, and as I see it as a writer, and being from a totally non-judgmental space about these topics helps to bring about a balance in what I'm trying to portray. So there may be some people in the story who really do not want to accept this as being a part of normal society, accepting homosexuality as being a part of normal society. Many people may want to say push it away and maybe not talk about it, hide it, or whatever. But then there are others who are going through this, and for them, the awareness and that we can bring to our society is, I think, the way I look at it. So I think if I'm bringing out everybody's points of view and just playing it out to the reader, I am presenting all kinds of points of view which don't have to really either help or aid or say put down somebody else's point of view. It's just all out there in the open, and you can take it and see it as it is in its true colors, and hopefully it will change us. It will help us embrace this part of the society and help us be more accepting to whoever wants to live their life the way they want to live. That's my hope and understanding when I bring these topics on.
So, Kanchana, your book, your recent talks about has social media as a theme, and women abuse of social media and women being at the receiving end of that is a big challenge that our society is facing right now. And I like to talk. I like you to talk a little bit about picking up this as a theme.
So, as I mentioned earlier, that while I'm very active on social media, I often follow a lot of people who I don't know, um, merely to see how they are, because this is something which has been on my mind for a while. So I've been kind of following these women and seeing their posts and the kind of remarks and comments they are getting. So and quite some time back, about almost a year ago, I read an article somewhere that this had happened in the US, that a woman, she had installed CCTV camera in her child's room. And and like one morning, she kind of woke up, or morning or evening or whatever, she kind of heard that her child was alone in the room but talking to someone. So and when she goes in, she sees that her kid is all by herself or himself, but is kind of talking. So and there are a lot of CCTVs where the audio function is also available. It's not just camera, but you can hear kind of a person, or you can kind of talk. So, and then when this woman, when she quizzed her child, the child told her that for some time someone has been talking to the kid through the CCTV's audio. And then it was found that there are these disgusting, perverted pedophiles who have hacked into the CCTV app, because in most cases people don't change the password of the company generated password of these instruments, and they are so it's relatively easy. So a person who has come to install the machine at your place, if that person shares the password with someone else, they can easily hack into it. And someone who had hacked into her CCTV and was talking to the child all through. So that is when this idea kind of struck in my head, that like make a story out of it. As other authors will tell you, that when you read something interesting, it just kind of sparks a story idea. And that's when I started following many other people on Instagram. And like regarding doing research for this, apart from the social media bit, there are a lot of Gurgaon slang words and dialogues which the cops use when they're talking amongst each other. So for that, I had to rely on a lot of my friends, who have lived in Gurgaon for a while, who have background
Right.
in Haryana. So because otherwise it doesn't sound authentic, as it is when you're talking about, when you have a police inspector talking to other, like they don't talk in English, but obviously I write in English.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of ask them about, and then the police procedures and stuff like that. So that also I kind of spoke to some of my friends who are crime reporters, who and then I also kind of got across to a senior police officer, an IPS officer, through a friend. And he told me about the ranks, the order of the ranks, and who is senior, who, and then how much they get paid. And because I had to get the entire social profile of Deepthi Beniwal, what kind of a background does she come from. So yeah, you need to do all that to make the story authentic. So
So
that's it.
we are probably running out of time, but quickly I will come back to, I mean, important inputs that I want from both Sudha and Kanchana on. Sudha, you decided to self-publish your first book. So tell us a little bit about self-publishing. What prompted you to go for self-publishing?
Self-publishing is really catching on. When I published in 2017 in India, it was already doing big in the West. And after sending my first submission to my first book to several publishers and not hearing back, um, I decided to self-publish because it as it was shown to me, as I saw, people were doing pretty well in India also in self-publishing. And at the time, the Amazon was running its pen to publish contest, so I decided to participate with this first novel. And also, being that we are writers, and kind of maybe reaching up, when we haven't started early. At least I haven't started writing very early. So I feel that time is running out, and also not only that, it's like we want to be doing what we want to be doing, and especially when there's a platform that allows us to have the freedom to publish the kind of work that we want to. Definitely we should go for it. And happily and luckily, as it happened, this book won the Wedding Tamasha won the award, and was then traditionally published by Westland. So that was a double lucky thing for me, to get published on my own and then picked up also.
Kanchana, this is your fourth book, third book
No,
which you are decided to self-publish. So we
no,
talked a bit. This is your
this is not. This
this is
is
your
my
first
third
book
book.
this is your third book, and the first one which you have decided to self-publish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking a little bit before we began.
Huh.
Would like you
So
to.
as I was telling Tanushri and you before the session, that the publishing houses now are so kind of clogged up with books that they have accepted in the past, and they have not been able to print, publish, and release out in the market because of the pandemic. And exactly what Tanushri was saying, that 2-3 books of us which were kind of lying with the publishers for the last year and a half are now coming out one after the other. So the publishing houses are not really accepting submissions, especially from thriller fiction writers, and they are saying that like, let's let us first kind of get the books out of the pipeline before we take on more. And for some reason in India during the pandemic, fiction is not selling well. At least that's what the publishing houses are have told me. In fact, Westland, HarperCollins, Penguin, they have all said the same thing, that you have to wait for at least about a year, 7-8 months, before we can talk. So I was not prepared to wait for that long. And as Sudha said, that like, I think so many interesting initiatives are happening on the KDP field, that you don't really, if you don't want to wait for the publisher, for a publisher, you can go ahead and self publish. And now like, while Amazon still does not have the print on demand option, but there are other companies like Notion Press, then there is Pothi, and there are some others that I don't know of. I know of these two who do print on demand. So I'm talking to Notion Press for doing print on demand, which means that that a paper copy, a print book of I on You will be available on Amazon, and people and readers will have the option of choosing for Kindle copy or a paperback. So things are becoming quite exciting. And while I'm not saying that traditional publishing is over and out, that will never go over and out, because like, publishing houses will always be there, and writers and authors will always kind of go to them. But in case if they don't want your book, or if you believe in your book and you want to go ahead, or you don't want to wait, there are a lot of other options available now.
Um, So I believe we are running out of time. I'll quickly go to Tanushri, and this is something I mean, every time I speak to authors who have done this, I really love to know more about it. You know, you have actually made a shift. You've given up on one career and taken a career in writing, which I'm sure came with its own, with naysayers saying a lot of things, and how you began, what were your motivations and all. So quickly taking closing comments on this from Tanushree and Sudha, both of who have done it. So Tanushree, I'll come to you first.
Deepshika, I had to make a choice. I was standing at a crossroad, and I am an HR professional. I have worked with Larson and Toubro for a very long time, and I was in a good place. So when I decided to quit, I decided to devote my time and energy to my family rather, because my daughter was very young, and I didn't see myself because it was a very demanding job. As you know, corporate scene is demanding. You cannot have two opinions about it. So I decided to go with my heart rather than my head. Lots of people told me you're doing a very foolish thing because you are quitting a job when you are really doing well. But then that was a choice I made. Writing had always been my hobby. I decided to just go ahead and turn it into a profession, and that's what I did. And touch wood, luckily for me, it has worked out. I'm not unhappy. I have no regrets. But do sometimes when I see my colleagues sitting in the real higher echelons of the hierarchy, I really feel that perhaps I would have also been there had I stuck around. But then it's just momentary. I know I have a greater life and a longer life working as a writer.
Perfect. Sudha, your comments on that.
I agree with so many points that Tanushri mentioned. I was a software engineer, and I took a sabbatical very early on in my career. So there was nobody to there was nothing to feel like I was way on top and I left it at some point, because my kids were really young, or they were not even born at that point. Only one was born. I took a sabbatical and decided to come back many years later, but then when saw that things had really moved on technologically, a lot of things had changed, and I didn't want to play catch up. Not only that, I had lost interest in that profession, and I had also reached a crossroads, like Tanushri said, where I wanted some creative fulfillment. And though I had not written as a hobby since a long time ago, it was just a new thing for me. Yet I had read a lot of books, and I was really interested in writing. And when I discovered that I could also write, it felt like some meaning to my life and something that I could get back to. And the fact that I spent almost, I think, 10 years without making it a profession, and then finally decided to convert it into a profession later. But yeah, it was a switch like that.
So I'll say goodbye to you all and thank you for joining, because we are really running out of time now. Thank you, all of you, Sudha, Kanchana, Tanushree, for joining, and good luck for your books. And
Thank
I
you.
look forward to